Every weekend, millions of golfers step up to the tee, stare down the fairway, and just try to launch the ball into orbit.
Oh, yeah, it's a universal instinct.
Right. I mean, you want to hit it hard, so
Yeah.
you throw your weight backward, you lean away from the target, and you violently rip that lead shoulder up toward the sky.
Because it feels incredibly powerful when you do that.
Exactly. It feels like you're creating massive speed. But the fascinating thing is, when you look at the modern three-dimensional motion analysis of the best players in the world, the data shows us something else entirely.
It really does. It
Right.
shows that this exact instinct is what completely destroys a golf swing.
Which is just crazy to think about.
It is, yeah. It's really the ultimate paradox in sports biomechanics. The movements that feel the most explosive to an amateur are usually the exact movements leaking, all the potential energy out of their swing.
So that is our mission for this deep dive today. We're bringing a premium sports science lens to this hidden world.
Right. We want to look specifically at what 3D motion capture reveals about that critical moment, the start of the downswing.
Yeah, we're talking about sternum control, how the rib cage interacts with the pelvis, and of course, the highly debated role of the lead shoulder.
Because we want to take these complex biomechanical concepts and translate them into physical realities that you can actually visualize and apply to your own game.
And I mean, the stakes here are huge for your scorecard. We all know the frustration of chasing distance.
Oh, absolutely.
You try to swing faster, but instead you chunk it, you slice it into the woods, and you just completely lose control of the club face. It feels completely chaotic.
Yeah, and the core issue behind all that chaos, at least according to the research we're diving into today, comes down to this concept of dynamic balance.
Dynamic balance. Okay, break that down for us.
Well, it's essentially your body's ability to control the massive forces shifting between your upper and lower body. You have to create a stable platform for the club to travel around.
Right, because a golf swing is basically a violent high-speed transition.
Exactly. You are moving a heavy metal object in one direction,
Right.
stopping it, and instantly accelerating it in the opposite direction.
Which is incredibly hard to manage.
Right. And to manage that transition, efficient golfers control the relationship between their chest and their hips. But the data highlights this one massive red flag where amateurs just completely lose this relationship.
Yeah, the scientists call this the common early tilt fault.
That's right. And this happens when a golfer takes their upper body and tilts it backward, away from the target, just way too early in the downswing.
Okay, wait, hold on. I have to push back on this right away.
Sure, go for it.
Because my brain is instantly flashing to every iconic photograph I've ever seen of Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy at impact.
Oh, the classic reverse C posture.
Yes. When you see them striking the ball, their upper body is aggressively tilted backward, their hips are thrust forward, and their spine is just super bent.
It's the literal poster image of modern power golf.
Right. So how on earth can tilt be a fault?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it comes down to distinguishing between the final destination and the journey you take to get there.
Okay, meaning what exactly?
Your visual memory of those iconic photos is completely accurate. Side bend and backward upper body tilt are absolutely necessary to deliver the club at high speeds, but you are looking at the moment of impact. The crucial element separating elite ball strikers from weekend amateurs is the timing. It's when that tilt is introduced.
Ah, okay. So amateurs are creating the right shape, but just at the wrong time.
Exactly. They are rushing the aesthetic. If you create the appearance of that backward tilt too early in the sequence, like right at the top of the backswing when you first start moving down,
Yeah.
the 3D data shows that your sternum falls excessively behind your pelvis.
Oh, wow. And this is before the arms have even dropped?
Right. You're doing this before your arms and the club have even had a chance to move down into a delivery position.
So you basically spend all your physical currency before the actual purchase is made.
That's a perfect way to put it, yeah.
Let me see if I can unpack the geometry of why that is so destructive. If I'm at the top of my swing and I immediately tilt my chest backward away from the target, but my lower body is simultaneously trying to shift forward toward the target.
You're physically pulling your body in two opposite directions.
Exactly. I'm stretching my torso backward while my hips slide forward, and the club is still like 3 feet above my head.
And you've just described the perfect recipe for breaking the kinematic sequence.
The kinematic sequence, that's the chronological order of energy transfer, right?
Yes. In biomechanics, it's how energy moves through the body to maximize speed. In a highly efficient swing, energy moves from the ground into the lower body, then it transfers up to the torso, then into the arms, and finally out to the club head.
But the early tilt ruins that chain.
Completely. If you tilt backward early, you sever the connection between your lower body and your torso. The hips go one way, the chest goes the other, and the sequence just dies.
So if early tilt destroys the sequence, and we can't just lean back to generate power, what does the data say we should be doing? How do the pros actually start the downswing?
Well, the 3D data reveals a really clear, repeatable pattern among the most powerful golfers on the planet.
Okay, what do they do?
During the initial phase of the downswing, that very first transition from top to bottom, the sternum must remain relatively centered directly above the pelvis.
Centered over the pelvis, so the upper torso does not retreat backward.
No, it doesn't. The golfer changes direction, but they maintain a stacked alignment between the center of their rib cage and the center of their hips.
Like keeping the chest, covering the ball. I was trying to visualize the structural tension while prepping for this deep dive.
What did you come up with?
Well, my first thought was it's like pulling back a heavy bowstring. You don't immediately throw your chest backward to pull the string, right? You brace your core and keep your center of mass stacked to manage that tension.
I like that. The bowstring captures the concept of maintaining structure against a load really well, but there is a limitation to that analogy.
Fair enough. What's the catch?
Golf isn't a linear pull, it's a massive rotation. So being centered does not mean statuesque or frozen.
Right, because you're swinging a club at 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. The 3D data shows that while the sternum remains centered over the pelvis, the rib cage is still actively rotating. Pressure is aggressively shifting from the trail foot into the lead foot.
So the body is managing all these massive rotational forces.
Yeah, but structurally, the upper mass of the torso hasn't surrendered and fallen backward yet.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The centered sternum acts as this foundational checkpoint.
It's crucial.
But golf is a high-speed motion. It takes less than a second. How long do I actually need to hold this centered posture? I mean, give me a visual checkpoint I can use on video to see if I'm doing this right.
Sure. In highly efficient swings, the data shows the golfer maintains this centered sternum-to-pelvis relationship until approximately the point where their lead arm becomes parallel to the ground during the downswing.
Wait, the lead arm parallel to the ground? That means you are halfway through the downswing.
Yeah.
The club is rocketing downward, your hips are firing, and your chest is still stacked over your pelvis. That requires a massive amount of physical restraint.
It really does. And some elite players actually hold that centered condition even slightly beyond the parallel arm position.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about the absolute misery that happens geometrically if you blow past that checkpoint.
It's not pretty.
Right. Let's say I'm an amateur. I get to the top of my swing and I immediately tilt my upper body backward. Think about the physical space in front of your chest.
Your arms need that empty space to drop down in front of you.
Exactly. So they can swing the club into the ball. But if you lean your chest backward early, your rib cage and torso move forward and upward. You're occupying the exact physical space your arms need to travel through.
You are creating a biological roadblock.
A roadblock. I like that.
Because the chest is tilted back, the trail shoulder drops excessively, and the arms get physically trapped behind the torso. They literally have nowhere else to go.
And when the arms are stuck behind you, the club approaches the golf ball from way too far inside.
Right. You are essentially dragging the club from behind your back.
Which is pure panic mode. You've completely lost control of the low point of the swing arc at that point.
Oh, absolutely. The club might hit the ground 6 inches behind the ball, or you might completely scull it.
Because your hips are sliding forward without upper body support, your brain is just forcing your hands and wrists to make desperate split-second compensations.
Just to get the club face on the ball somehow. It is a terrifying and inconsistent way to play golf.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, contrast that mechanical nightmare with what happens when you successfully remain centered.
Okay, a good version.
Right. When you hold that sternum over the pelvis until the lead arm is parallel to the ground, you preserve that crucial physical space in front of your body.
You're creating a void for the arms to travel through.
Exactly. You give the arms the necessary time to lower vertically. In coaching terminology, this allows the club to naturally drop into the slot.
Ah, the famous slot.
Yeah. The slot is that optimal delivery path where the club shaft is shallow and approaching the ball from a neutral angle.
And because you haven't tilted backward and trapped the arms, you don't have to use your hands to force the club out in front of you.
Right. The torso remains intimately connected to the movement of the arms. They work as a synchronized unit rather than fighting against each other.
Which naturally brings us to the most debated body part in golf instruction, and honestly, The thing that usually causes people to lean back in the first place?
The lead shoulder.
The lead shoulder. Anyone who has ever taken a golf lesson or watched a quick YouTube tutorial has probably heard the command to lift the lead shoulder.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Right. Get that left shoulder up through impact to launch the ball.
It is an incredibly common cue, mostly because coaches see the lead shoulder high at impact on camera, so they tell the student to just put it there.
But the 3D data illustrates why giving that cue is actually often destructive.
Yes. The danger lies in isolated muscular movement.
Explain what you mean by isolated movement in this context.
Well, if an amateur hears lift the lead shoulder, their brain interprets that as an instruction to use their neck, trap, and shoulder muscles to actively yank that shoulder upward.
From the very beginning of the transition.
Right. And when you try to lift the shoulder as an independent, isolated action, it instantly pulls your upper spine backwards.
So you lose your posture.
You lose your posture, you trigger the early tilt fall we just discussed, and your hips move closer to the golf ball.
Which is that dreaded early extension flaw.
Exactly. Because you are artificially fabricating a position using the wrong muscles at the wrong time.
Okay, so if actively lifting the shoulder with our upper body muscles is the wrong model, what is the true scientifically backed sequence the data reveals?
The optimal model from the 3D data is a highly specific sequence of events. Step 1 is remaining centered as you transition. Got it. Step 2 is keeping the lead shoulder actively lower during that early downswing phase.
And step 3.
Step 3 is allowing the arms to lower and organize the delivery of the club into the slot.
Okay.
And then step 4, and only step 4, is extending powerfully upward through impact.
You know, I noticed a very specific wording in the research regarding step 2. The data states that the lead shoulder isn't just being held down rigidly.
Right.
It is being actively delayed from rising.
Yes.
That implies a serious level of patience. You are keeping it lower while your lower body is shifting, intentionally resisting the urge to stand up.
Exactly. You are delaying the rise to preserve your body's inclination toward the ground. You have to maintain that forward bend to interact with the turf.
Okay, I have to stop you here because my brain is really struggling to connect the dots on this next phase.
What's the disconnect?
Well, if I am intentionally keeping my lead shoulder down and you are telling me not to use my neck or shoulder muscles to lift it later,
Yeah.
where on earth does the massive explosive upward force come from to get that shoulder high at impact? I mean, how do the pros actually do it?
Here's where it gets really interesting. The secret lies beneath their feet.
Beneath their feet. Okay.
It comes from ground reaction forces, specifically through a biomechanical concept called loading before unloading.
Loading before unloading.
Yes. You have to understand the entire movement of the lead shoulder, not as a shoulder movement, but as a full body loading and unloading sequence.
Okay, walk me through the physics of that. How does pressure in my shoe turn into my shoulder flying upward?
So by keeping your lead shoulder lower for longer during the early downswing, you stay in your forward posture.
Right.
And while you are in this inclined, centered position, you are actively shifting your body weight and applying immense physical force downward into your lead leg and foot.
So you are basically compressing the lead side of your body.
Yes. You are pushing your lead foot violently into the grass.
And then Isaac Newton takes over.
Exactly. Newton's third law of motion dictates that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
So as I push maximum downward pressure into the earth pushes back up into my foot with the exact same amount of force.
That is ground reaction force.
But how does that force travel all the way up to the shoulder?
Think of a whip being cracked. A small, powerful movement at the handle sends a massive wave of kinetic energy traveling up the leather.
To create a supersonic crack at the tip.
Right. And in this case, your body acts as the whip. The ground pushes up into your foot. That upward force physically drives your lead knee to straighten and extend.
Oh, wow.
Then the extending leg drives the lead side of your pelvis upward and backward to clear the hips. The clearing hips drive the rib cage to rotate at high speeds.
And finally?
And finally, at the very end of that kinetic chain, that wave of energy hits your upper body, and the lead shoulder is violently driven upward.
That is a phenomenal visual. So the upward movement of the lead shoulder isn't a cause, it is an effect.
Yes, it is a consequence of ground force traveling up the kinetic chain.
You aren't shrugging your shoulder upward to try and hit the ball. The shoulder flies upward because your leg pushed the ground pushed your leg, your hips cleared, your ribs rotated, and the shoulder just went along for the explosive ride at the very end of the whip.
Perfectly said. And that upward explosion is perfectly timed to match the release of the club head into the back of the golf ball.
So if you use your upper body muscles to lift the shoulder early during the transition,
You bleed out all that potential energy, you stand up, which means you lose the leverage required to push down against the ground.
you've essentially spent your upward movement before it can actually contribute any speed to the club head.
Exactly. It's a total waste of energy.
Well, we have covered some serious biomechanical territory today, pulling apart the nuances of sternum control, space creation, and the physics of ground reaction forces.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
So let's distill this into the absolute non-negotiables. For the listener heading to the practice range this weekend, what are the central principles they must take away from this 3D data?
Okay, if we synthesize this entire discussion, there are 4 non-negotiable mandates for an efficient, powerful downswing.
Let's hear them.
Number 1, stay centered during the transition. Do not let your upper body tilt backward away from the target immediately. Maintain that stacked relationship between your chest and your hips.
Right, keep the chest covering the ball.
Number 2, keep the lead shoulder down long enough. Delay its rise so you preserve your posture and create physical space for your arms to drop into the slot.
Patience is key.
Number 3, create pressure before extension. Use that centered position to push massive force down into your lead foot. Load the system.
Push into the ground.
And number 4, move upward at the correct time. Allow the ground to push back, extending your leg, clearing your hips, and finally launching your lead shoulder upward right at the moment of impact.
It really fundamentally rewrites the golden rule of golf instruction. Real power does not come from lifting early or forcing speed from the top of the swing.
No, it doesn't.
Power comes from preserving the ability to lift powerfully when it actually matters. It requires structure, geometry, and just incredible patience.
It really does. And, I would leave you with one final thought to explore on your own, because this concept of preserving energy isn't isolated to golf.
Oh, really? Like what else?
Well, consider the idea of movement potential in almost any other dynamic sport. Think about a boxer throwing a knockout punch or a basketball player loading up for a maximum vertical jump.
They don't start the movement by immediately throwing their head backward.
Right, or locking their joints.
Yeah,
They compress, they stay centered over their base, and they load the ground.
that's a great point.
So how often in our daily physical activities do we lose our true explosive power by rushing the final dynamic movement before the foundational load is actually complete? The physics of preserving tension until the critical moment is really a universal law of human performance.
It is the ultimate lesson in discipline. If you want the club head to fly at maximum velocity, you have to trust the ground, respect the sequence, and have the patience to hold your center before you let the energy go. If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue producing high-quality educational content for golfers and coaches worldwide. If you have a question, topic idea, or golf challenge you would like us to research, test, and explain, please leave a comment, contact us on LinkedIn, or send us an email. Don't forget to explore the eCoach 360-degree golf intelligence platform and experience our 48-hour free trial. You can also join our 30-day golf biomechanics, kinematics, ground reaction forces, and club kinematic certification program to deepen your understanding of golf performance.